Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of June 8th, 2014. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This week, Venus is doing some interesting things. She's having some wonderfully empowered or a wonderfully empowered conversation with Pluto right at the top of the week. And at the full moon in the middle of the week, she will be standing across the sky from Saturn. You add to this what Neptune is doing. So Neptune will be what astrologers call stationary retrogrades. Neptune will be standing still in the sky and begin to go backwards as part of his regular, pretty much yearly phase that he begins to travel backwards. And Neptune has been called the higher octave of Venus. Now, you put all this together, and I do think that this is going to be an important week, mainly in love for most of us. So a lot of us are going to be looking at where it is that we can transform our current situation where it comes to love with an honest assessment of where we are and whom we are with or whom we are not with and why. And from there, decide on some steps to go forward from there. So Venus trine Pluto, to me, this is always a really empowering time. It's a harmonious conversation between these two planets, and it does tend to suggest a time when, if we're single, we might make a really profound connection or have a really profound insight into what needs to transform within us so that we can move towards greater love, move our lives towards greater love. If we are attached, then this is usually a time when either we are motivated to deepen that commitment, or we are motivated to bring things to a close and move forward with faith in our hearts. And there is an element here of strong feelings, of strong motivations to make transformation happen, to make changes happen that last, that really are very solid and that get to the core of any issue. And you add to this Venus standing across from Saturn in the sky, and this tells me that we are going to be very mindful of where we are, the reality of the situation, and whom it is that we are with, or why it is that we are exactly where we are, where it comes to love. And that in turn will allow us to make choices that affirm self-respect. And so if you've been with somebody out of fear, and especially Venus, when she stands across the sky from Saturn, if you've been with somebody because you fear that if you're alone, either you won't be comfortable being alone, or you think that being alone, you might not be able to do any better. That's really not a good motivation ever to be with somebody. And this is sort of your moment of truth, if you will. Now, Neptune is, as I said, considered or called the higher vibration of Neptune. Sorry, Neptune is called the higher vibration of Venus. And the thing is, though, where Venus is love, romantic love, Neptune is considered more universal love. But this is still an element here of artistic inspiration, certainly, is what Neptune represents. Neptune ultimately is being plugged into Source, and it's about having faith in ourselves and in our lives, having faith that there is something out there that is guiding us, loving us, and moving us towards greater love and greater wisdom, which I certainly believe to be true, and I constantly affirm in all my work that I do. And some people say that Neptune standing still in the sky and beginning to go backwards tends to be a time of confusion, and that might be so. However, I have found in my own life, in the lives of other people around me, is that this tends to be not so much a time of confusion. This tends to be wherever it is while Neptune was strong. When Neptune is strong going forward, that's when we can get caught up in the dream. But when Neptune stands still and begins to go backwards, we begin to look at our own expectations, and we begin to look at where maybe we weren't being either completely honest with ourselves, or maybe we were allowing ourselves to get carried away, and where maybe we need to ground ourselves in a little bit more faith in ourselves and in our own lives. And to me, ultimately, this means that love is made that much stronger, because there is something really beautiful about acknowledging another person as they are, not who you hope they are, you wish they are, not what your fantasy has created, but for all their imperfections. There is something that is more beautiful than any fantasy when you look at the absolute reality. And that's what I think a lot of us are going to be experiencing this week. So there's certainly a romantic vibe in the air. You add to this a full moon. So as I said, in the middle of the week, Venus will stand stand across the sky from Saturn. And at the same time, there will be a full moon taking place in the sign of Sagittarius, speaking in supreme harmony with Uranus. Now, I did speak about this in the monthly horoscopes. You might want to watch those again, depending on how important this was, given your sign. I did speak about it for most signs. And I really, really love this vibration for a few reasons. One is, this is fire energy, okay? So this is Uranus in fire sign Aries, full moon in fire sign Sagittarius, having this conversation. And this is also a conversation of supreme harmony, and Uranus represents surprises, things kind of coming up out of nowhere. So these are going to be surprises that delight us, but also liberate us. Full moons are about culminations. They're about endings. They're allowing things to come to their natural conclusion, their fruition, and having a moment of truth, acknowledging where things are and where now you're ready to let go, you're ready to let release happen, you're ready to let transformation happen. And so this time, at least, it seems like that transformation can come about in ways that are particularly harmonious. And of course, full moons are often associated with emotion, strong emotion. And you add to this the fact that this is very friendly fire, and fire is all about, you know, feeling the fire in your belly, feeling butterflies, feeling lit up, feeling adrenaline. And so I do think that there's an element here of our emotions on rise, but in a very pleasant way. And this could certainly indicate, I do think, for some of us at least, just on the surface, this could indicate sort of one of those love/lust at first sight type of incidents that really sort of show you where you are and what you are drawn to. And because it's a Sag vibe, it may just surprise you. This is Sag and Uranus, so it may just surprise you who it is that you end up being attracted to, someone perhaps very different than what you have thought was attractive before. Now, towards the end of the week, this is what I find really interesting. Towards the end of the week, we have Mars speaking with Pluto, and they're speaking in a type of conversation that astrologers call a square. And this is a conversation of tension and motivation. Now, this is where I really think that the level of consciousness you bring to the chart speaks volumes about how it is that you actually experience the chart. And this has been said again and again by a lot of the great astrologers that have ever lived. I know Alan Leo really stresses this in his book, Esoteric Astrology. And this really is about you understanding that you participate in the unfolding of the universe. You participate in the unfolding of your chart and of your stars, really. And so someone with a high level of consciousness, someone who likely, if you're interested in watching this, and because I try to bring a higher level of consciousness to the best of my very humble ability to the stars, and I try to empower you with choices by looking at the stars, you likely are going to be somebody who's going to bring a higher level of consciousness to that sky, to that chart. And so someone who is bringing that higher level of consciousness is going to look at this, strong feelings likely to come up right about now, and look at where it is that you desire change, and where it is ultimately that maybe you've been holding yourself back from making some changes because of fear, because of consequence, of fear of whether it's rocking the boat or it's just that the alternative seems so daunting. Well, now is the time when we get really honest with ourselves about what it is that is no longer working in our lives and commit to the process. We're actually motivated and determined to move our lives positively forward and to feel and experience significant transformation, the kind that gets right to the source and transforms it deeply, transforms the situation deeply in at least one area of life. And so allow that energy to come up, because that is an energy of absolute empowerment and absolute honesty as well. And also this adds to this element of adrenaline as well that is in the air, this element of being fired up, if you will. If you are a person, I gotta say, if you're a person who's not bringing a high level of consciousness to the chart, then this energy can be experienced a few different ways. I mean, this energy can be experienced as wondering what you can do to manipulate a situation, trying to control things that ultimately are not yours to control, or trying to feel a sense of power over other people because maybe you're not ready to look at where it is that you actually feel powerless. So this is actually you or a person who's not bringing a high level of consciousness to the chart, actually negating or focusing that energy, deflecting that energy, projecting that energy away from the self. So instead of looking at where it is that you need to change to genuinely be happy with yourself, instead you're looking at what other people are doing and what you need to do so that you can make them have an emotional reaction, feel a certain way so that you can feel a sense of power. Well, that's a really unhealthy use of this energy, of course. And that could end up being a way of not necessarily moving your life towards greater love and greater wisdom. But as I said, we always have that choice. And when we see other people, if you are around people, you have to interact with people who maybe don't have that level of consciousness, your energy, the energy that you bring to that moment, the energy that you step into that space with, determines the outcome and determines the meaning you make of it. And so if you see that in someone else, you can say, okay, I see how that person is playing this out, but I am not going to take that on. I'm going to keep it about them. It has nothing to do with me, and I'm not going to buy into that game. And instead, I'm going to focus on myself and what I need to do to make myself a better person and what I need to do to move myself towards greater love and greater wisdom. The universe is wise and loving, and I really believe there are no accidents, especially where it comes to our connection to the celestial symbols. And this week tells me that it is a week of taking honest stock of where we are in love and where we are in terms of where we want to go and the path to get there. It is not nearly as daunting as you think. And if there ever was a time when your joy and your happiness would lead you to really amazing, sometimes profound windfalls in love, in money, in life, and any other area of life as well, this very well could be it. Now, I do want to add, if you want to skip ahead to your sign, please do click on the timestamp for your sign in the YouTube description. I also want to give you guys a big thank you. Thank you so much. I would love to hear in the comment section on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, how you are experiencing this week, how you are experiencing Neptune retrograde. Are you feeling a heightened sense of confusion? Or are you feeling a heightened sense of faith and connection to self and source? How are you experiencing this time? It would be great to hear from you. I love interacting with you guys, and I love your questions on astrology as well. I know that sometimes you ask astrological questions. I try to answer them, and I'm also keeping a list of special series videos to create for you to answer those. So thank you so much for your suggestions. Please keep them coming, and please keep reaching out to me. I know some of you out there ask more personal questions, ask me to take a look at your chart, and I'm truly so grateful for your trust. You can have a look at personalized horoscopes where I do just that, and the link should be somewhere here on your screen as you're watching this, and also in the YouTube description as well. And I'm just so grateful for your trust, and I do hope that these videos that I put out there in some way affirm that we are all moving towards greater love and greater wisdom, and that they in some way provide you with an omen that you need that affirms this truth that I believe, and that I believe that you do as well, which is what has brought you here in this moment. How all the things that are happening this week astrologically speak to you and your sign are coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. This week we've got Mars, your ruling planet, speaking with Pluto. This is one of those very important moments for you, moments of truth for you, if you will. And this is one of those moments when you are deciding what it is that works, what it is that doesn't, and you are prepared to make some brave changes. And actually, I do think, in all honesty, life is not going to leave you with a lot of choice. Now, you have, since the very end of last year, been going through extended lessons of Mars moving through your sign, moving through your opposite sign, unusually long time, several months, 7 months actually, to be precise. And this to me suggests that you are moving your life forward now more and more. You are now, what has been stirring underneath the surface, are really starting to tap into where it is that you desire change in love. And you're willing to actually take those daunting steps to move yourself in a more positive direction. This could be one of those, and I do think for some of you out there, in all honesty, this could be one of those make or break kind of weeks. This could be one of those weeks that either propels you closer to another person or goes the other way, makes you finally say, you know what, I'm done with this. Thank you, universe, but I'm ready to move on with other lessons. And that's what happens when this full moon comes about and just fires you up with faith, belief in yourself, and belief that your life can move in a more empowered direction. Hello, fabulous Taurus. This week we have your ruling planet continuing to move through your sign, reaching out in harmony with Pluto at the very top of the week. And I do think that that is going to be sort of the keynote conversation that really motivates much of how the rest of the week transpires for you. And in particular, I do think as I look at this week playing out for you, it is really an important time for you. Yes, in love, absolutely, because you are going to have Venus in your sign standing across from Saturn in your opposite sign. And so yes, there is that ability for you to look at where you are in love very deeply, very profoundly, and ask yourself if this person actually fits the vision for where it is that you are actually going in your life, where you believe that you're actually going in your life, and making choices based on that. But ultimately, I do think that you are coming to a deeper level of self-knowledge and what that actually means for you in love and in life. And I do think that a tremendous amount of you actually, I see moving closer to another person. There is some percentage of you that are going to say, okay, I'm done with this situation. Thank you, universe. And it'll be like ripping off a Band-Aid, moving on. However, I do think for a large percentage of you, it's actually going to go the way of a deepening of commitment. And so the dominant energy for most of you, I do think, is going to be that trine playing out in a positive sense. But for some of you out there, I think that opposition is going to end up making you look at exactly where you are and tapping into that energy of the trine in a slightly different way, or a significantly different way. Allow yourself to learn what you need. Allow those lessons to come up, because it does look like you are moving towards a more honest place and a more authentic place where it comes to love. Hello, fabulous Gemini. Well, we have Venus moving through the sign just before yours. You add to this how active Venus is this week, all the different things that she's doing. And I gotta tell you, if there have been any hidden feelings, if there have been anything going on behind the scenes where it comes to love, this is a week when you really start to look at where you are and if it's working for you or not. And I would just really advise you to take things slowly in a measured kind of way. Because do remember that right now you have Mercury, your ruling planet, going backwards in the sky through this week. She's not yet in your sign, but soon will be. And that's really going to be a time when you're getting more honest with yourself than you have before as to who you really are and what ultimately you want in your heart of hearts. And so I'm seeing some of you out there, if you have a situation that you've kept sort of on the down low or something, whether it's you've kept it private even from the person you're attracted to, or the two of you have decided not to share it widely, this could be a week when you sort of say, you know what, let's just say it. Let's just get out there. Let's just put it out there. And I'm seeing a lot of sort of mixed feelings, and especially even on your part, especially when I look at just a little bit further down the road. And so I would say to you, just be measured, be calm, look at where you are, what feels right in your spirit, and go from there. Ultimately, I do think this full moon in your opposite sign is going to speak volumes about where you actually go in love, what actually works for you. And it is a strong moment of truth. So while there is this tendency there to, you know, sort of bring things out from where they've been, if they've been hidden at all, at the same time, there is this openness to love as well. And so anything that hasn't been the healthiest, now you're likely to stumble on something that actually is a lot healthier than before, than you realized. For some of you, this could very well be meeting somebody new. And for others of you, I do think this very well could be sort of like if there's been any sort of unsaid, a sort of a cloud over a relationship, this is a time when, you know, sort of a spontaneous interaction, connection ends up lifting that cloud and bringing the two of you closer together than ever. Hello, fabulous Cancer. Well, this week you have some very important things taking place for you where it comes to love, where it comes to friendship as well. You've got Venus moving through a part of the sky that has to do with friendship for you. And you add to this an element that you right now are really looking at ultimately how it is that you are either affirming or not affirming a sense of self-love in your smallest moments. And there is going to be a very strong desire to merge what it is ultimately that you're feeling on a level of heart with your daily experience. So I do think for some of you, in all honesty, while it may on the surface look like this is playing out in a level of work, this full moon, which I spoke about in your monthly horoscopes, that is certainly a possibility. But ultimately, I'm seeing big picture energy here, and I'm seeing partnership energy, talking, friendship energy as well. And so I do think that this week is going to represent an important turning point for you in love, where you are really seeing the big picture of where you are right now and what it is that you are ready for next. And where it is that this person fits into that, you're willing to make changes to your life and your lifestyle to have them fit. And where it is that they don't, you are going to return to a sense of self-empowerment and self-love and make changes from that space. Hello, fabulous Leo. Well, this full moon happening in a part of the sky that really is very much in your element, if you will. It's very much about you getting to the heart of you and getting your flirt on, as well as I spoke about in the monthly horoscopes for the month of June. So it does represent a very important point this month for you where it comes to love. All of us in some way are having love lessons, but for you, it is love, but it's also matters of heart. Now, I have been asked on social media about fertility energy. Well, this is really it, okay? And what I mean by fertility energy, especially for Leos out there, this week is so high in terms of fertility energy, quote unquote. And what I mean by that is that either this could be a time of, if you're looking at it from a very sort of immediate literal understanding, this is a time when a pregnancy could occur or a birth could occur. Or this is a time when a child, whether it's your own or a child that has a significant impact on your life, on your understanding of yourself, very close to your heart, has some news for you that ends up being really positive, ends up being something really good as well. And so if that's something that you are, if you're trying to cultivate that, if you're trying to have a child, this could be a time when you get some really good news this week and into next week as well. If you are seeking to manifest this energy in a different way, not so literally, this could be a time when your creative juices are really fired up, and this could end up being a very important turning point for you where you understand more clearly what it is that you're passionate about and what it is that you want to give your very valuable energy towards creating in the world and ultimately contributing to the world as well. And so take that time to nurture those creative juices and just be mindful. If you're feeling a very strong connection to somebody, this really could be a time when you are connecting with that person very deeply as well and very joyously as well. And so highlight the joy, be conscious of your ultimate aims, your ultimate desires, because you're very likely to plant the seeds now that manifest them very soon. Hello, fabulous Virgo. Well, this week we have Venus moving through a harmonious sign to you, moving through the sign of Cancer. And we also have this week, what I find really interesting for you is we've got also Venus speaking with Saturn, speaking with Pluto, which is in fellow Earth sign as well in Capricorn. And I look at this playing out and it does suggest to me just pleasant times with other people, ultimately is what it comes down to, having interactions with other people, conversations with others as well, that encourage you to look at your world a little bit more broadly, a little bit differently, encourage you to look at yourself as well a little differently, and encourage you to think a little bit outside of the box. And I do think ultimately it's going to be laughter, it's going to be fun, it's going to be joy that opens up that type of lessons and those types of learning for you. Now, ultimately, Pluto is in a part of the sky that has to do with the flirt. It has to do with getting your flirt on. And Venus is in a part of the sky that has to do with your vision for your life. And you put these together, and where they are, both of these planets in earth signs, yours being an earth sign as well, it's almost as if you start the week just on a really nice high and feeling like things are really working to your advantage, things are working to your favor, and that life really can change in a way that moves you towards greater happiness. And nurture that energy, because that certainly is very true. There may be a conversation in the middle of the week that makes you say, whoa, wait, what happened to that happy energy? But it needn't be that way. Welcome the chance to talk to other people, because I do think that your worldview and your understanding of yourself is about to expand, as is your understanding of your own potential as well. So nurture that. This full moon is going to bring about changes in the home space, changes in your relationship with a parent, or you as a parent, your understanding of yourself. And it's very positive. It looks like you are feeling enlivened by the love that surrounds you and having a deep appreciation, a renewed understanding of what was in the past and how ultimately it was a great blessing, whatever it was. Hello, fabulous Libra. Well, your ruling planet Venus is going to be active this week, as I spoke about in the introduction. And I do think that this represents an important moment for you, if you will, especially where it comes to understanding your sense of self-worth. This week really hits home with that. And I do think that in the middle of the week, it's almost as if I see you having these amazing brainstorms, amazing conversations. And so some of you, this is going to play out in terms of you likely flirting with somebody very spontaneously, possibly online. And so there's a sort of a romantic connotation to this. And that leads you to ask yourself, well, am I really worth it? Can I really do this? Is this, am I really presenting myself honestly or not? If you have connected with somebody online, this is a time when it might actually be a lot better than you expect. For example, if you meet them, they might actually be a lot better looking than you thought they would based on their picture. And so be open to that possibility as well. But for some of you, this isn't going to play out romantically necessarily. This will play itself out in terms of you looking at your financial pictures and your finances. And so if that is you, if you are one of those people where it's more playing itself out in terms of finances, I would invite you to look at wherever it is that maybe something about your relationship with money might need to heal. And if you allow that healing to happen, you actually will end up moving your life towards greater prosperity, and actually may end up actually be struck with an idea that ends up being a huge money-making proposition. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. This week we have Saturn in your sign standing across the sky from Venus. Now, this tells me that you are about to get a burst of love in possibly some very cold or hardened places within you, resistant places within you, places that have felt really boarded up or really not available to softness or love in a while. Now, you may feel that you're a very loving person, you're a very caring person, and where could this come from? But I do think that all of us have a part of themselves, and especially this is true with Scorpios, a part of themselves that they keep protected and that they are protective of. And I certainly think that that is true for you. However, this particular week, what's interesting is with Venus coming along, and you add to this element of just feeling good about yourself and having every reason to feel good about who you are. With this full moon reminding you of that, it does suggest to me that wherever it is that some softening needs to happen within you, whether it has to do with the way you feel about yourself, and especially what you feel about your lovability, that is set to happen for you this week. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. Well, it's a full moon in your sign. You really do want to watch the monthly horoscope again, because things I talked about there are going to be especially highlighted for you now, but this week will prove to be a very special one, likely one that you will remember really for the trajectory of the year. When you get to the end of the year and you look back on what transpired this week, what transpired this year, this week will be the week that stands out of several other key moments as well. However, this will be one of the top 3 easily. And I say that because this full moon really is about setting you free. Wherever it is that you have felt restricted, there is a readjustment happening. Now, for some of you, really, for most of you, I think this is just going to be a readjustment on a level of heart. So wherever you felt fenced in on a level of heart, now it's like your glasses get wiped clean, or you have just that right adjustment so that you can see your circumstances differently and realize just how blessed you are. There's a sense of joy and possibilities and fun, really, that is set to return to you, and a sense of just being loved for who you are, and maybe in a way that you hadn't really remembered or hadn't really felt in a while. There's a very strong connection with this energy happening, with you just being very connected to what's happening on a level of heart and understanding what ways of seeing yourself have served their purpose. And I'm seeing a major identity shift for a lot of Sagittarians out there. For some of you, this is going to be related to love. So maybe your label, your situation, how you identify where you are in love, especially considering another person, is likely to go through a shift. So if you're single, you might suddenly realize that you don't want to be anymore and you have somebody amazing there. But you're likely to experience some sort of change that really opens up your heart and makes you realize that you really don't need any kind of shell or protection that maybe you needed way before, when you were actually someone very different. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. Well, Venus is in a very harmonious place for you, fellow Earth sign Taurus. And speaking with Pluto in your sign at the very start of the week, this is you really getting a boost and knowing that you are loved. And I think for a lot of you, this is just going to come about by doing what it is that lights you up, doing what it is that you love and that you feel is really going to allow you to expand on a level of heart and expand on a level of the amount of joy you're able to cultivate. This is really a time for you to trust what is fun for you. Now, it's been said, and I've been sharing this lately, there's this great song out right now, Pharrell Williams, called Happy, and in it he has this lyric that says, "Happiness is the truth." And this song was actually shared by a fellow Capricorn as well with me, and I got to tell you, if there ever was a week when you come to understand that happiness is the truth, this really is it for you. So really trust whatever it is that lights you up, trust whatever it is that makes you happy, and you really want to affirm that very strongly at the start of the week. Once we get you in the middle of the week, there may be a little bit of doubts creeping in. You've got this full moon happening in the sign just before yours, and you add to this Venus standing across from your ruling planet, Saturn. But I gotta say that ultimately, any fears that come up are coming up to be cleansed. It's like a light bulb is being turned on. And if there ever was a time when you might very well feel washed clean from the inside by seeing something with a totally new perspective, this very well could be it. And it looks like you are certainly being made stronger, fresher, clearer, and more brave than you knew yourself to be before. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. Well, we've got this full moon in the middle of the week happening in a part of your sky that is very much in your element, or rather very much at home to you. And what I mean by that is, astrologically speaking, mini astrology lesson here, but astrologically speaking, the sky is divided up into houses, okay? And each sign is the natural ruler of a given house. Your sign is the natural ruler of what astrologers call the 11th house. And Sagittarius, the sign of Sagittarius, is your 11th house, is the sign that covers your 11th house, or is 11 signs in front of yours. And so you are the 11th sign in the zodiac. You are the natural ruler of the 11th house in the sky, and your personal 11th house is Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is in the part of the sky that is 11 signs in front of you. So you have this natural affinity with that sign, a natural connection with that sign, and you add the fact that when there is such positive activity happening here, that involves also your ruling planet, and also a very harmonious position to you right now in the part of the sky that has to do with mind and has to do with brilliance. You add these together, and I do think that this is a week when you are just going to feel like the best of you is able to come forward and be expressed. You're having fun, you're connecting with people, you're feeling really appreciated as well. But it looks like you are connecting with people on a level of friendship, yes, but also on a level of just communicating your ideas. Now, if you are one of those people who is putting yourself out there, this could be a time when you get some media coverage or make a connection in the media that ends up being really helpful to you. And this looks like very sort of immediate media, so it might not necessarily be like a big network, a big sort of publishing deal necessarily, but it could just be just the perfect sort of spot that you are ready for, the next thing that you are ready for, that ends up being just perfect and just the right amount of publicity to really propel you more strongly in the direction of your higher hopes and wishes that you have for your life. And it's possible also that a friend is part of facilitating this whole thing happening for you, part of facilitating this very wonderful opportunity. Just keep sharing, put yourself out there, allow yourself to have a lot of brilliant ideas, because the mind really is going to be very bright right now. And it really is going to be other people that are going to help you to understand how you're actually really close to some of those wishes and aims and hopes that you had for your life. And now you've grown so much that you're ready to dream even bigger than you had before. Hello, fabulous Pisces. Well, Neptune, your ruling planet in your sign, is going to stand still this week and begin to go backwards. And I do think that this represents a very important moment for you, an important turning point for you, where you start to understand what it is ultimately that is going to guide your life. And this is a really valuable question. This is a life sort of question that a lot of Pisceans have to sort of engage with and understand more strongly at certain points than others. But this is really the time to embrace that learning, to embrace that understanding, because I do think that there is an element here and there's a part of you that needs to more deeply connect with something within you. Now, maybe some of you out there, and maybe I have a feeling as I say this, you might resist this and say, nope, that's not me at all. But you're going to get a chance to reflect on this. But I do think that there are some of you out there that may have in some ways given yourself away. And what I mean by that is maybe you have settled for less than ideal circumstances. Maybe you have sort of lowered your expectations in a way that was not necessarily healthy, which was not necessarily maintaining a sense of truth and authenticity to yourself. Well, this is a time when you start to get more honest about that. And I do think ultimately that when you are connected to yourself, you know, it's no accident that a lot of people say again and again that you really have to love yourself in order to know love from others. And this is a time when that lesson really hits home for you in a very important way and very close to the heart as well. And so stay open to that. Understand that it is your personal connection to energy that is going to motivate and drive your life. And once you connect to that, everything you need has a way of just falling into place and flowing very easily. Well, I will stop there. Thank you so much to all signs out there for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.